This is what top-level enjoyment looks like. In the middle of a desolate wilderness, surrounded only by dry grass and fallen branches, a man used his carpentry skills worthy of an ancient master to handcraft a dreamlike wooden cabin. Not only could he sit inside and admire the raw beauty of the rain-soaked forest, but he even grilled his own food. Life doesn't get much better than this. Dao found a clearing in the jungle, gathered a pile of stones, and stacked them into a tall chimney. He then placed branches inside, struck a match to ignite them, and added dry grass. The fire flared up instantly, roaring to life. Before long, the smoke had blackened the stones of the chimney. Taking advantage of the rising flames, Bao cut several thick branches from the forest and hauled them back to the clearing. He propped stones under the logs, chopped small notches with his axe, and assembled them into a sturdy rectangle. Then he brought more wood, stacking each piece tightly inside the frame to leave almost no gaps. Finally, he picked up another log and sharpened one end with the axe. He drove the sharpened log into the ground beside the frame, hammering it down with a heavy stone. Then came the second, until four posts stood at the corners of the rectangular base. Dao gathered dry grass and spread it neatly along the edges of the floor, laying another log on top. With the grass as padding, the gaps between the timbers grew smaller and the structure stronger. Clearly, Bao knew exactly what he was doing. His experience in outdoor cabin building showed. Soon, the side walls were already standing nearly a meter tall. He wrapped rope around the newly set post, tied a tight dead knot, and trimmed the excess with his knife. Then he laid a thick beam horizontally across the middle of the side walls, securing both ends with rope. To reinforce the base, he slid another log into the gap between the floor and the ground. Taking up his axe, he cut away part of the middle and bottom of a timber, then stood it upright on the base beam. For extra stability, Bao drove a nail into its foot, locking it firmly in place. He tied the center of the post to the beam behind it with rope, then repeated the process on the opposite side, setting another log symmetrically in place. Taking up his axe again, Bao trimmed both ends of a timber and laid it across the two posts, clearly the start of a roof frame. He stripped the bark from several branches and fixed them diagonally beside the ridge beam. Once all for supports or secure, the outline of a triangular roof began to take shape at the very center of the roof. After loosely fixing a few beams, Bao grabbed his shovel and bucket, filled it with soil from the forest's edge, and carried it back. He poured the dirt in front of the cabin, spread it evenly, then laid stones on top. To seal the gaps, he packed smaller rocks between them. Next, he smeared wet clay over the doorway stones and stacked higher and higher. It was clear he was building a chimney. Step by step, he patiently raised it layer by layer. He set a log upright inside, then used soil and short timbers to build a small wall around the chimney. With his shovel, he smoothed clay into the seams, poured in several buckets of dirt, and packed the gap between the stones and wall tight with a hammer. When the chimney rose to his own height, Bao climbed to the top, pulled the inner log free, and tossed it aside. He placed a ring of stones around the opening and added one more layer of wood. At last, a tall, sturdy chimney stood complete. Only with Bao's careful hands could a chimney turn out so smooth and refined. He brought over a pile of turf and wood, cut the logs, and fixed them behind the chimney to block the remaining wall. Then he spread turf across the wood, the green blending with the raw timber to create a strangely natural beauty. In no time, a neat wooden wall was complete. Next, he cut several long logs and laid them across the roof behind the chimney, layering grass and wood in turn. Every step was done with patience and precision. With the remaining logs set in place, Bao pulled out a saw and trimmed the excess. He clearly cared about the cabin's appearance, every line was straight and true. Then he spread mud across the side walls, smoothing it carefully with his shovel. Next came a stack of planks, laid neatly in the clearing, ready for the roof. One by one, he placed them across the top, forming a stair-step pattern. The design was simple, yet strikingly original. The roof now looked like rows of wooden shingles. Dao left space for a window, building a simple frame that stood upright. Then he crafted a trapezoid-shaped wooden door, reinforcing the back with crossbars to hold the planks together. To strengthen it further, he nailed two sheets of cowhide across the surface. Carrying the finished door to the frame, he fastened the other ends of the hides to the doorway. Finally, he pulled out a handmade handle and secured it firmly with nails. He opened the door and secured an inner latch, then added a lock for safety at night. Next, Bao fitted the small wooden window into its frame, a delicate and refined touch. To keep it open, he propped it with a branch, slotting one end into the frame so air could flow freely inside. As the breeze drifted through, A cluster of white flowers swayed gently outside, filling the moment with calm and serenity. Da carried several logs into the cabin. What remained now was a bed. He sharpened both ends of two beams and fixed them directly into the wall, then hauled in shorter logs and laid them across, forming a simple wooden bed. He built a small table as well and set it inside. Removing his gloves, Bao lay down for a midday rest. Before long, rain began to fall. Waking up, he spread out a sheet and pillow, ready to prepare dinner. Fortunately, he had stored some firewood inside the cabin. Without it, dinner would be impossible. Da added logs to the chimney base, stoking the flames higher. He pulled out a cut of beef, sprinkled salt, and dusted it with his special seasoning. When the fire burned to glowing coals, he set a grill on top and laid the beef across it. Into the ashes he tucked two potatoes, leaving them to roast. As the flames dimmed, the aroma spread, and soon dinner was ready. Da set the beef and potatoes on the table and began enjoying his dinner. From the look of satisfaction on his face, the meal was surely delicious. Afterward, as night slowly fell, he lit a few candles and lay down to rest. Before sleeping, he tossed more logs onto the fire, the flames rising bright and strong. White smoke rose from the chimney as strange noises outside stirred Bao awake. The sounds soon faded, and he slipped back into sleep. Watching this, we can't help but praise his beautifully crafted wooden cabin. And tonight, may you too drift into a peaceful sleep.